A DOJ Inspector General report finds that during the 2021 withdrawal from Afghanistan, the Biden administration evacuated 55 Afghan evacuees on the terror watch list to the U.S. Of those, 21 were added after arrival, and as of July 2024, 9 remained watch-listed, with 8 still living in the country. While the FBI later cleared 46 individuals, 9 remain flagged, and 1 Afghan national has been charged for plotting an ISIS-linked terror attack. Republicans, including Senator Chuck Grassley, are sharply criticizing what they see as serious shortcomings in vetting during Operation Refugee and Allies. During that time, you remember all the chaos, but hopefully some of it starts getting cleared up, including this extant list. We welcome now in studio a very special guest, Aaron Reitz, former Assistant Attorney General of the Office of Legal Policy for President Trump's DOJ. He resigned from this post on Tuesday for very exciting reasons, which we'll get to shortly. Aaron, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Chanel.
I know this is actually, Afghanistan is actually a topic that's pretty personal to you.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it's terrible to hear what's come out of this report, but it's also unsurprising. I myself am a Marine Corps veteran and a veteran of the Afghanistan war, and I spent 7 months there. And so for a lot of us guys who served overseas, it was just an absolute insult to see the Biden administration's failings and humiliation on the world stage with that evacuation. And now to see that we've got these really, really bad guys who snuck through, again, unsurprising, but really terrible for our country.
The vetting process has been sharply criticized, obviously with the changing of the guard. I mean,
That's
you
right.
came in with the Trump DOJ. What did that changing of the guard and the policies look like?
Look, the President Trump and the Department of Defense and Department of Justice and all these related entities were taking vetting seriously. The Biden administration didn't take that seriously at all. And it's not just with respect to Afghanistan. It also has to do with our border crisis. The millions and millions of illegal aliens invading our country, all unvetted. We don't know who they are. We don't know, in many cases, where they're from. We don't know what their backgrounds are. But now, thanks to President Trump and Attorney General Bondi and so many others that are involved in this fight, we're finally now taking seriously who's coming into our country. We want to know your background. And if you're a criminal, you're getting in front of the line to get out of this country.
When you first joined the Trump DOJ this round, what was it like working with AG Bondi and her team? I know these are not unfamiliar circles to you, but you know there was still so much on her plate.
That's right.
So much on FBI Director Cash's plate.
That's right.
And so there's been sharp criticism about, why haven't we seen arrests? Why aren't we clamping down on lawfare? Talk to us about that.
Sure.
Kind of responding to that criticism.
Yeah, look, what Attorney General Bondi inherited was an absolute disaster situation when it comes to our justice system. And we could run through the full litany of the January 6th persecutions. We could talk about investigating traditional Catholics. We could talk about putting parents who are concerned about their children's educations on extremist groups, and the weaponization of the justice system, the lawfare against President Trump, just absolutely baseless claims in an attempt to take him out. And we could keep going about what she inherited. But I will tell you that Attorney General Bondi got sworn in the first week of February. And since that time, she has undone a tremendous amount of that mess. And so this is a big project in front of her. It's a big project in front of the Justice Department. And it's a big project for our justice system to reestablish confidence with the American people in our justice system. And so I'm proud of the work that I was able to do with her. I'm proud of the team that she's built. I'm proud to see her continue to lead in advancing a really monumental task in front of her.
Speaking of, going back to this original topic of the vetting processes that have been in place and are now in place, there are also concerns that, in the process of us focusing on the all-important issue of our borders, we're doing so at the expense of Islamic terrorism threats.
That's right.
So what do you say to that?
Look, I think that America has threats from every angle. I think that there are Islamists, there are violent international gangs, There's China that's surveilling our country and sending fentanyl into our country. And so America, given its stature on the global stage, given what we represent, our enemies want to take us out. What I'm proud to say about this administration is that they understand the nature of the threat. They're taking it deadly seriously, and they're focusing efforts against the worst of the threats. And so I'm happy to see what President Trump and his administration have been doing over the past several months, and I look forward to seeing what they're going to accomplish over the next few years.
I'm curious, when you've joined the DOJ with this round, what was the biggest kind of, I guess, personal myth you debunked for yourself once you got behind the curtain?
I think that the biggest myth that got debunked for me was that nothing could be done to fix the situation. That what we inherited was this completely immovable deep state that is going to thwart everything that we're trying to do. And I want to be clear, there is a hard nucleus of a deep state that wants to undermine what this president is doing, and we need to remain vigilant to ensure that we root them out. However, what I have seen is, in spite of the problems that we inherited after 4 disastrous years under Biden, what it has taken is just sheer force of will, energy, dedication to advancing law and order, to reestablishing justice, and upholding the rule of law. And so when you just get the right people in place, personnel is policy, we hear it all the time.
Right.
But all it took was President Trump, Attorney General Bondi, and so many others to just get there and start willing progress into existence.
So let me ask you this. What does the deep state look like in our judicial system?
So it takes a couple of different forms. I think that within the bureaucracy, sort of in Article 2, right, the executive branch in our U.S. Constitution, it often just takes the form of unassuming 9-to-5ers who are deeply, deeply liberal in their predispositions, and are there and just throwing sand into the gears of progress.
Yeah.
So you have a president of the United States or an attorney general of the United States who says, you know, I would like to accomplish X on the basis of ABC laws. Go and do. Mm-hmm. And then you'll find the pencil pushers that will say, oh, well, actually, ma'am, here are the reasons why we cannot do these sorts of things, and here are memos about it, and my colleagues agree, and we might get into trouble. And it just slows things down. And what it takes is just energy in the face of that. Now, in Article 3, however, what it's really manifesting is, I don't know if deep state is the right word, but we have a constitutional crisis that we are living through right now that is being sparked by democratically appointed judges who want nothing more than to speak to their far left political base by undermining what this president is trying to do. And what he's trying to do is completely legal. It's within the bounds of the law. It's within the full scope of his Article 2 presidential powers, and yet these democratically appointed left-leaning judges that are completely unaccountable to the voters, they don't represent the will of the voters, and they have lifetime appointments, they can just thumb their nose right at it. And I think it's terrible. So that's another way that we maybe look at how the deep state is trying to stop progress in America.
And that's not even mentioning, non-government entities like the ABA, which acts like it's a government agency.
It really does.
American Bar Association.
Oh, yeah.
Like they control who gets to be a lawyer, who gets to stay being a lawyer.
That's right.
They have immense power, but they don't have official government.
You're
sanctions.
Right. But their imprimatur has for too many years really shaped opinions around judges and so forth. ABA, are you qualified, not qualified, or some gradation in between. That has mattered for a while. But fortunately, with Attorney General Bondi, I want to say maybe 3 weeks ago, she put out that letter instructing the Justice Department to no longer rely on it. Yeah, that's right. We're not going to rely on it. We're not going to enter into sort of confidentiality agreements with the American Bar Association where we would typically turn over, background files to the ABA so that they can evaluate whether they're qualified or not. We put an end to that because the ABA is just a left-wing outfit. That's all it is.
Well, I mean, in the legal field, that's a revolutionary act.
It is a revolutionary act, and but I'm proud to live through the legal revolution that we're in. And by the way, it's the left that has, over the past 60 years, led us through a revolution. And all President Trump is trying to do is get us back to the basics of law, order, justice, and the Constitution. And I'm all about it.
Well, I alluded to the fact that you resigned from DOJ, but
right.
in a good way for some very good reasons.
That's right.
You just announced this morning that you're running for Attorney General of Texas.
That's exactly right.
To take our good friend Ken Paxton's role as he hopefully lands on Capitol Hill.
Yeah. Well, look, that's exactly right. This morning I did announce for Texas Attorney General. Folks can learn more about me at aaronreitz.com, AARONREITZ.com. But you alluded to something that's exactly right. Whoever's next has really big shoes to fill for Ken Paxton for what he's done for our country. Texans have had over a decade of being blessed with his leadership, his energy, his focus, his effectiveness. And now that he is vying for the United States Senate seat, Texans now have an opportunity to select a new AG, which we haven't had in over a decade.
Right.
And I think that Texans, and in particular Texas Republican primary voters, want somebody who is a proven MAGA attorney and a warrior for the Constitution. I use those phrases on purpose because when President Trump nominated me back in December for my DOJ post, he looked back at the work that I did. I spent 3 years with Attorney General Ken Paxton as his deputy. I spent 2 years as Senator Ted Cruz's chief of staff. And President Trump and his team looked at all of the work that I did, the litigating, the suing, the defending, the appealing, the investigating, on all of the issues, election integrity, big tech, woke corporations, environmental overreach, border security, backing the blue. You name the issue. I've worked on it. And what led President Trump to nominate me for DOJ, when he put out a Truth Social post when he announced me, he said, Aaron is a, quote, a MAGA attorney and a warrior for the Constitution. And I think that Texans want more of that. I think they deserve more of that. I don't want to see the progress that Attorney General Paxton has made over the past decade. The next guy can't take his foot off the gas.
It's amazing to, if you analyze Texas politics and you look at the trials and tribulations that General Paxton has been through, his is a perfect example of what the MAGA world's battle has been against big tech and against the swamp, if you call it that, Karl Rove kind of grouping of Republicans down there. And, he's defied critics at every turn.
Yes.
But again, Texas has been on the forefront of big tech and border fights.
Totally right. Totally right.
And it is looking like it's going to continue to be on the forefront of that, despite Democrats trying to invade and move in on Texas politics.
Yeah, look, you're exactly right. If you take a step back, I really believe that we are in a civilizational war for the heart of our country. What does it mean to be an American? What is our tradition? What is our heritage? What is the next? I love that we're celebrating our 250-year anniversary here coming up, because there's going to be a lot of reflection on the heart and the soul of what it means to be America and to be Americans. Texas, because it is now, I think it's the 9th largest economy in the country, it's got a population of nearly 31 million people and is sort of a political locus for really where all of these American issues really center in on.
Right.
And so what you need is a top Republican lawyer presiding over the largest Republican law firm in the country to ensure that he understands the nature of the fight that we're in, that it's not just local issues, that we really are in a civilizational war, and is going to deploy the tools and weapons that are at his disposal to ensure that we are advancing, that we're going on offense where we need to go on offense, we're mounting defenses when we need to be on defense. Because if you don't get somebody to succeed Paxton, who has the kind of experience that I bring to the table, and you talk about the lawfare against Paxton, I bore the scars right alongside him.
Yeah.
If you get somebody who hasn't been beaten to a pulp and doxxed and called out and had their bar license threatened, I have, with Attorney General Paxton at his side. And so Texans don't have to guess what kind of Attorney General I'm going to be into the future. I've done the kinds of fights that they want to see out of the next AG. And what I can promise folks is to continue doing that in a highly energetic and effective way. And they can learn more about it at aaronreitz.com.
All right. Day one priorities, what are they?
I think day one priorities is going to be find the most effective ways to partner with this administration to advance the president's law and order agenda in order to benefit Texas. And so we want to partner with President Trump, We want to partner with Attorney General Bondi. We want to partner with FBI Director Kash Patel. We want to partner with all of our local law enforcement in the cities and the counties. We want to partner with all patriot and Texas-loving Texans to secure the border, ensure that our elections are reliable and not susceptible to fraud.
Texas has been holding the line on that one.
It really has. And look, on election integrity, I'll tell you, one of my most fun stories with Attorney General Paxton is after the fraudulent election of November of 2020, President Trump went around the country looking for champions to file what is now known as Texas v. Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And you see so many of these Republicans just squish. Or they say, oh, I don't know, that's too novel. Can we just all come together? Can we just accept the fact that, that Joe Biden won the election? And when it came across our desk, I'll never forget the conversation I had. It was me, Attorney General Paxton, and a couple of other guys. We were deciding what to do. And I was very strenuously advocating that we have to file this lawsuit. We don't have another choice, okay? You have 4 states that have done their presidential elections in manifestly unconstitutional ways. What choice do we have? And by the way, what other forum do we have but to go directly to the Supreme Court? And so we whipped up Texas v. Pennsylvania. We filed that lawsuit to try to uphold the integrity of that election. Sadly, we were poured out on standing grounds. But,
I remember that well.
But to your point, though,
yeah.
Texas holds the line on election integrity, border security, immigration restriction, deportations, holding big tech accountable, preventing woke school districts from indoctrinating our kids, preventing the radical ideological LGBTQ community from transing our kids, and preventing environmental overreach, which has choked out Texas's energy industry.
No offense to the Supreme Court. I thought their no standing argument was nonsense.
It was nonsense, but remember, 2 of the judges dissented from the denial. So we had Alito and Thomas, who on paper said, you know, I don't know about the merits of the case just yet, but I at least want to hear it. And that was encouraging.
Exactly. Aaron, thank you so much for making the time. And this is a very important office that you're running for. Best of luck in it. And we'll be watching closely.
Thank you, Chanel. Appreciate it.
Coming up, Congressman Gill cornered the ex-CEO of 23andMe on pronouns she could not define. He joins us next. We'll be right back.